In terms of the trends, Zach mentioned this a little bit now in terms of the cost. We've seen a decrease in cost over the past 10 years, drastic decrease in the cost of solar and also battery storage. There's been a little bit of uptick in the last maybe 1 or 2 years due to, supply chain issues. I think COVID pretty much threw everybody for a loop, right? So for the past 2 or 3 years, we've been trying to figure out how to get back to our normal lives before COVID. So there's been a little bit of uptick in the price of these renewables, but in the long term, what we're expecting is these prices to continue to drop. And as they drop, you see there will be more people kind of installing assets, both behind the meter and also in front of the meter. And then when you see all of these new renewables come on, both large scale and small scale, what is happening is that there's a lot of queue, on the transmission level to interconnect these large scale renewables on the grid. So currently, I think this might be a little bit old, but currently we have about 930 gigawatts of solar just waiting to be interconnected. And I think Derek also mentioned this as part of the things that need to be improved to make sure that we can actually get some of these mandates in place. Because if you have all of these mandates and whatever, and there is really no improvement in these permissions to interconnect, then it really makes no sense. Then the other thing that we have been looking at is extreme weather, right? So over the past 5 years or so, we've had a lot more of these extreme weather events occur than the last probably 15, 20 years combined, right? So almost every year now, there's going to be a reasonable expectation of some hurricane or whatever, which damages more than $1 billion each in areas like Florida and then also other areas on the coast. So these extreme weather events keep occurring more and more every year. So we have to do stuff to make sure that we can still provide power reliably to all our members behind the meter. Then, okay, we've already talked about this, so I'm just going to skip this one. MISO came up with an updated number yesterday, so this slide is very old right now. The other thing looking at is the levelized cost of energy. So by the time you look at everything all together, and Zach also mentioned this, you want a balanced portfolio, so you just invest in maybe Bitcoin, and then all of a sudden, your money just goes away, right? So you want a balanced portfolio also for the electric grid. And then part of what we are seeing is the levelized cost of energy and comparing, all these various sources of energy, because that's the only way you can make sure that you are making the best financial decisions for your members. Overall, renewables are still providing very good value for money, and I think it's going to be improving as we move down the line. Then where NRECA stands on this, and that's where I started with my little bit of disclaimer, because NRECA represents the interest of almost 900 electric cooperatives in Washington, D.C. So part of NRECA's job is advocating on behalf of all these co-ops. And we want to do that in such a way that everybody is kind of satisfied. And you can imagine how difficult that is going to be. So what we are trying to say here is that we are focusing on providing reliable, affordable power to our members, regardless of the sources where these energies are coming from. We are, committed to the energy transition, but we want to do that in a very, very safe way to make sure that, the whole goal of having electric cooperatives in terms of providing power to rural and remote areas is not kind of jeopardized with, some of this very aggressive transition.